Everyone knows Swami Vivekananda as a powerful spiritual teacher who spoke at the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. His words inspired people around the world. But there is a part of his story most people don't know. Before he stood on that stage, he spent years in doubt, poverty, and deep inner struggle. After the death of his teacher, he wandered across India as a monk, often without money, food, or a clear direction. At times, he even questioned his faith and searched for answers. Why would a future spiritual leader face such uncertainty? What was really happening inside his mind during that time? Today, you will learn English through the untold story of Swami Vivekananda. After the death of his teacher, Ramakrishna, in 1886, the life of Swami Vivekananda, then known as Narendra, changed deeply. Ramakrishna had been his spiritual guide, someone who gave him direction and answers. Without him, Narendra felt lost. At the same time, his family faced serious financial difficulties. His father had passed away earlier, leaving the family in a difficult situation. There was not enough money, and responsibilities increased. Narendra had to think not only about spiritual questions, but also about real-life problems. This created a moment of uncertainty. He stood between two worlds. One was the world of spiritual ideas, influenced by his teacher. The other was the world of daily struggle, where his family needed support. He did not yet know which path to follow. Instead of choosing comfort or stability, he made an unusual decision. He left home and began traveling across India as a wandering monk. He had no regular income. He had no permanent home. He moved from place to place, often depending on the kindness of strangers. Sometimes he stayed in temples. Sometimes he slept outdoors. He lived simply, with very few possessions. This was not an easy life. There were days when food was limited. There were times when he felt physically tired and uncertain about the future. But he continued to travel, meeting people from different regions, cultures, and social backgrounds. During this journey, something important was happening inside him. He was not only traveling across the country, he was also searching for answers. Narendra began to question many things. He asked about the meaning of religion. He thought deeply about truth, God, and human suffering. He did not accept ideas easily. He wanted to understand them fully. At times, he experienced doubt. He wondered if spiritual teachings were enough to explain the reality he saw. He saw poverty, inequality, and suffering in many parts of India. This made him think more deeply about the role of religion in society. He was not rejecting faith, but he was not accepting it without question. This created a strong inner conflict. On one side, he had the teachings of his guru. On the other side, he had his own observations and questions. He was trying to find a way to connect both. From the outside, people saw him as a calm and spiritual young monk. They saw his discipline, his knowledge, and his quiet presence. Many respected him. Some even saw him as a teacher. But inside, the situation was different. He was searching deeply. He was not fully certain. He was in a process of understanding, not a place of final answers. This period of his life is often not discussed in detail. But it was one of the most important phases of his journey. It shaped how he would think, speak, and act in the future. At first, it looked like a spiritual journey, but later, it became something much deeper. From the outside, Swami Vivekananda appeared calm, confident, and deeply spiritual. People who met him during his travels saw a young monk with strong presence. He spoke clearly and with confidence. He had deep knowledge of philosophy, especially the teachings of Vedanta. Many people respected him and listened carefully when he spoke. Some even felt inspired by his words. He did not look lost. He did not look uncertain. To others, he seemed like someone who already had answers. But this was only the public view. The private reality was very different. During his journey across India, Vivekananda lived a life of simplicity and hardship. He had no steady income. He depended on food offered by others. Sometimes he ate very little. There were days when he did not know where his next meal would come from. He traveled long distances on foot. The weather was not always kind. Some days were very hot. Other days were cold or uncomfortable. He did not have modern comfort. He carried very few belongings. At night, he did not always have a proper place to sleep. Sometimes he stayed in temples. Sometimes he slept in open spaces. Sometimes he stayed in small homes offered by kind people. This life was physically challenging. But more than that, it was mentally and emotionally demanding. Inside, Vivekananda was going through a deep internal struggle. He was not only observing the world, he was trying to understand it. As he traveled, he saw many parts of India. He saw cities, villages, and remote areas. He met people from different backgrounds, and what he saw affected him deeply. He saw poverty. He saw people living with very little. He saw families struggling to survive. He saw inequality and suffering in many forms. This created difficult questions in his mind. If God exists, why is there so much suffering? If spiritual teachings are true, why do so many people live in pain? These questions were not simple. They stayed with him. He thought about them again and again. He was not satisfied with easy answers. He wanted to understand the connection between spirituality and real life. He wanted to know how philosophy could help people who were suffering. This was the center of his internal struggle. He was not rejecting his faith, but he was trying to deepen it. He was searching for a truth that was not only intellectual, but also practical. At the same time, something else was growing inside him. A sense of responsibility. As he saw the condition of people around him, he began to feel that spiritual knowledge should not be separate from human life. It should help people. It should bring strength, not only ideas. He began to think that religion must be active. It must serve society. It must address real problems. This was an important change. His journey was no longer only about personal understanding. It was becoming something larger. He was beginning to see a purpose. But this purpose was still forming. He did not yet have a clear answer. He was still in the process of learning, observing, and thinking. From the outside, people saw a calm monk with knowledge and confidence. But inside, he was still asking questions. He was still searching for direction. He was still trying to understand how to connect spiritual truth with human reality. This period of his life was quiet, but powerful. It was not about visible success. It was about internal development. It was about building understanding step by step. From the outside, he looked calm and strong, but inside, he was searching for answers. This moment was not random. It was part of a pattern. If we look closely at Swami Vivekananda's journey, we can see that his struggles, questions, and decisions followed a clear pattern. These were not isolated moments. They were connected by the way he thought and lived. The first pattern was his habit of questioning. Vivekananda did not accept ideas blindly. Even when he was young, he asked deep questions about religion and truth. He often asked, "What is truth? And how can we know what is real?" These were not simple questions, and he did not expect simple answers. Even when he met his teacher, Ramakrishna, he did not immediately accept everything. He observed, he questioned, and he tested ideas. This made his understanding stronger. His faith was not based on belief alone. It was based on experience and reflection. This pattern continued during his travels. When he saw suffering, he did not ignore it. He asked why it existed. He wanted to understand how spiritual ideas could connect to real life. His questions were not a sign of weakness. They were part of his growth. The second pattern was discipline. Vivekananda had strong mental focus. He practiced meditation regularly. He trained his mind to stay calm and clear, even in difficult situations. This discipline helped him manage both physical hardship and internal struggle. His life as a wandering monk was not easy, but he remained focused. He controlled his habits. He kept his thoughts directed toward understanding and growth. This level of discipline is important. Without it, his journey might have ended early. But because he trained his mind, he was able to continue, even when things were uncertain. The third pattern was service. As he traveled and observed society, Vivekananda began to believe that spirituality should not only be about personal peace. It should also help others. He saw that many people were suffering, and he felt that knowledge alone was not enough. He believed that spiritual life should include service. Helping others, supporting society, and improving conditions became part of his thinking. This idea would later become central to his message. He did not separate thought from action. This leads to the deeper insight. Vivekananda combined thought and action. He did not only think deeply, he also looked for ways to apply his ideas in real life. He wanted a balance between understanding and doing, between inner growth and outer responsibility. This combination made his approach different. Many people focus only on ideas. Others focus only on action. Vivekananda tried to bring both together. If we look at all these patterns, we can see a clear direction. Questioning helped him think deeply. Discipline helped him stay focused. Service gave his life purpose. These elements worked together. They shaped the person he was becoming. And they explain why his journey was not simple or direct. He did not move from doubt to certainty in one step. He moved gradually, through questions, experience, and reflection. This is an important point. Sometimes people think that strong faith means no doubt. But his story shows something different. Sometimes, the strongest faith is built through doubt. After years of travel, questions, and inner struggle, a clear realization began to form in Swami Vivekananda's mind. It did not happen in one moment. It came slowly, through experience and reflection. But over time, one idea became stronger than the others. He understood his purpose. He realized that spirituality was not only for personal peace or knowledge. It was meant to serve humanity. It should help people become stronger, more aware, and more connected to each other. This idea became the center of his thinking. This was the turning point. Until this moment, he had been searching. He had been asking questions and trying to understand the world around him. But now, that search began to change into direction. Doubt started to become clarity. Uncertainty started to become purpose. He no longer felt lost. Instead, he began to see a path forward. This change was internal, but it was powerful. Something inside him changed. He decided that his role was not only to understand spiritual ideas, but to share them. He wanted to bring the philosophy he had learned to a wider audience. He believed that these ideas could help people, not only in India, but also in other parts of the world. At that time, India was under British rule, and many people in the West had limited understanding of Indian philosophy. Vivekananda saw an opportunity to build a bridge between cultures. He began to think about a new mission. He wanted to present the ideas of Vedanta and Indian spirituality to the global stage. He wanted to explain that different religions could share common truths. He wanted to show that spirituality could be practical and meaningful in everyday life. This was not an easy goal. He did not have strong financial support. Traveling to another country was difficult. There were many challenges, but his clarity gave him strength. In 1893, he traveled to the United States to attend the Parliament of Religions in Chicago. This was a major international event where representatives of different religions came together to speak. At first, things were not simple. He arrived in a new country with limited resources. There were difficulties with registration and support. For a short time, he did not even have a clear place to stay. But he remained patient and focused. Eventually, he was given the opportunity to speak. When he stood on the stage, he faced an audience that was not familiar with his background. This was a critical moment. He began his speech with a simple and powerful greeting. "Sisters and brothers of America." The response was immediate. The audience reacted with warmth and respect. His words created a connection. They were simple, but they carried sincerity and openness. In that moment, something became clear. His journey, his doubts, his struggles, his questions, had prepared him for this. He was no longer only a seeker. He had become a teacher. His message was not only about religion. It was about unity, understanding, and respect between different cultures and beliefs. This was the result of his inner transformation. He did not reach this moment by avoiding difficulty. He reached it by facing it. The years of uncertainty were not wasted. They were necessary. They shaped his thinking, strengthened his mind, and clarified his purpose. And because of that, when the moment came, he was ready. Not only to speak, but to be understood. The story of Swami Vivekananda is not only about success or public recognition. It is about what people do not always see. His journey reminds us that not everything in life is visible from the outside. A person may look calm, strong, and confident, but inside, they may be facing questions, doubts, and struggles. One important lesson is that doubt can lead to deeper understanding. Vivekananda did not avoid questions. He faced them directly. He allowed himself to think, to reflect, and to search. This process helped him build a stronger and more meaningful belief. Another lesson is that strength grows through struggle. His life as a wandering monk was not easy. He faced physical hardship and emotional challenges. But these experiences helped him become more focused and resilient. We can also learn that true purpose requires both clarity and action. It is not enough to think or understand. At some point, we must act. Vivekananda moved from searching to sharing. He turned his ideas into a message that could help others. Now, let's practice speaking together. Repeat after me. I am more than what people see. My journey has hidden struggles. I grow through questions and change. Take your time. Say each sentence clearly. You can pause and repeat to improve your pronunciation. Now, think about your own life. What is one part of your life that people don't see? It could be a challenge, a goal, or something you are working on quietly. Take a moment to reflect, and if you feel comfortable, share your answer in the comments below. If you learned something new from this story, don't forget to like the video. And subscribe to Legend Stories English to continue learning English through meaningful and inspiring stories.